Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. The Torah tells us that Moses married Zipporah. Zipporah was a Midianite woman, daughter of Yitro, Jethro in English. He was a priest of Midian. And at one moment, either just before giving of the Torah or right after, we're not exactly sure, this Yitro appears before Moses in the desert. He is his father-in-law. He came to visit his daughter. He came to visit his grandchildren. But he was also, according to our rabbis, an expert in religions. He had already studied all the religions in the world, and he came to the conclusion that the Jewish religion was really the just one, and he converted to Judaism. This is one of the legends that we have in Judaism. But the Torah tells us that he sees how Moses is sitting, and the people are standing, aligned in front of him. They have questions. They don't know how to do certain things, or they have problems among themselves, and they need a judge to tell them what to do. And Moses sits there in judgment all day long, and people wait their turn all day long in order to get the ear of Moses about their problem. Yitro sees that scene, and he says to Moshe, this is untenable. You can't sit there all day long. It's too much for you to deal with an entire people. And the people can't wait like that. You know what you have to do? You have to establish courts. Courts of hundreds, courts of thousands, different levels of courts. And you start with a lower court, you go to a higher court. And eventually, if something is very difficult, they come to you. But you shouldn't deal with everyday problems. Moses agrees with him. And they institute a system of courts. Now, one questions oneself. Moses was a great man. He was sitting in judgment. Couldn't he have come to the same conclusion? Did he need somebody to tell him, why don't you get assistance? Of course, he could have done that himself, but yet he didn't do it. He needed somebody to give him a push in order to do it. You know why? Because Moses thought that in Judaism, everybody is equal. You don't go to a lower court, you go to a higher court. You go straight to the source. Everybody has to have direct contact with him. And he will have contact with God. But there is no such thing as hierarchies. I am more important than you. In Jewish tradition, for instance, when you're allowed to kill somebody? If somebody is about to kill you with a knife in self-defense in order to deter the person from killing you, you can kill the other person if there is no other way of stopping being killed. But you can't choose a rich man and a poor man and say, I'm going to save the rich man because he helps others and the poor. No, everybody is equal in the eyes of God. So how do you make peace between these two concepts? After all, we have different talents. We're not all equal. Some have an ear for music, some are good in math, some are good in telling stories, some are more generous than other people by nature. There are differences among human beings. We have different talents. But in the eyes of the law, we must all be equal. And this is the problem of democracy. You have to, on the one hand, rule over a mass, but on the other hand, you can't forget the individual. So democracy is not only the rule of the majority, because the majority wants something. You also have to respect the will of the minorities as well. I am a minority, I have rights also. How many people suffer from hearing loss? A certain percentage. So why should we have any special laws for those that have hearing loss? The majority don't have hearing loss. Why do we have special ways for somebody in a wheelchair to get access to a building? Most of us don't have wheelchairs, but democracy means you have to take into account the individual as well. And Moses was very sensitive to that. He stayed there in judgment because he did not want to classify people. However, practice unfortunately made it impossible. But the fact that he didn't do it until somebody told him, that is a sign that he forever remained with the idea that true democracy is the right of every individual.